Welcome to the Hybrid Protocol Podcast, Episode 1, The Immune Clock, where you were never told about aging. I'm your host, Gerardo, and I'm so glad you're here. If you're over 40, and you have started noticing changes that feel hard to explain, like more fatigue, more frequent colds, slower healing, or just a vague sense that your body doesn't bounce back like it used to, you're not imagining it. And it's not just your metabolism or your hormones. It's your immune clock. And in this episode, I'm going to explain exactly what that means. We'll talk in detail about a small, forgotten gland that most people have never heard of, the thymus. And I'll walk you through what this gland does and why it matters, how it dramatically changes, and most importantly, what groundbreaking science from Dr. Valter Longo and others now shows about how we can reverse this immune aging. And this is the part that no one tells you, that aging is not just about wrinkles and gray hair. It's about the slow decline in your immune system. And the good news is that we may now have a way to hit reset. If you listen to this episode through the end, you'll walk away with this understanding. Why your immune system is the true clock of aging, what the thymus gland does and why it shrinks, what Dr. Longo discovered about fasting and immune regeneration, and how you can use this knowledge to reclaim part of your biological youth. So let's begin. When we talk about aging, we usually focus on what we can see like weight gain, skin, energy levels. But what if the deeper story is hidden in your immune system? At the center of that system is a small butterfly-shaped gland behind your breastbone, which is called the thymus. You might never heard of it. Most doctors barely mention it after anatomy class. But in your early ages, your thymus was absolutely critical. It was like the training academy for your T cells, those specialized white blood cells that defend you against viruses, bacteria, and even cancer. But here's the problem, that around puberty, the thymus begins to shrink, and by your 30s, it has already lost a significant mass. And by your 50s, well, it's barely recognizable, and it gets replaced by fat tissue. This process is called thymic involution, and this is the major reason why older adults become more vulnerable to infections, autoimmune conditions, and poor vaccine responses. And also, why inflammation creeps up and healing slows down. Dr. Valter Longo, which is one of the world's leading aging researchers, has referred to this process as part of the immune aging clock. And it is a clock that ticks silently, but dictates so much about how we age. Now here's where things get hopeful. In one of the most exciting discoveries in aging science, Dr. Longo's team at the USC found that prolonged fasting can actually regenerate the thymus. In their landmark 2014 study published in Cell Stem Cell, mice that underwent periodic fasting show a regrown thymic tissue, and it also increased the T cell production. But the real surprise came when they applied these same principles in human clinical trials, using a method called the Fasting Mimicking Diet, or FMD. In these trials, participants follow a carefully formulated plant-based, low-calorie, low-protein diet for just 5 days a month. That's it. And what happened? They saw increased production of immune cells, reduction in markers of inflammation like C-reactive protein, and remarkably, some individuals, partial regeneration of thymic volume as seen on imaging studies. Let that sink in. A gland that most scientists assume it was permanently shrinking after midlife was coming back online. Dr. Longo described this process as a kind of systemic reset. During the fasting phase, the body clears out damaged or dysfunctional immune cells. And then during refeeding, the stem cells are activated to produce fresh, functional ones. It's a kind of a destruction followed by a regeneration. That is so important, not only to fast, but also the refeeding period, as this is the phase where this happens. And this is not magic, it's biology. But the thymus shrinkage is only part of the problem. As we age, our immune system also accumulates something scientists call senescent cells. Dr. David Sinclair refers them as zombie cells. These are cells that no longer function properly, but refuse to die. They linger, pumping out inflammatory signals that damage surrounding tissue. This chronic, low-grade inflammation is called inflammaging, and it's being linked to nearly every major disease of aging, like heart disease, Alzheimer, type 2 diabetes, and even cancer. Here is where fasting comes in again. Research shows that during prolonged fasting, the body activates a process called autophagy. It's a sort of built-in recycling system that identifies these zombie cells and either repairs them or removes them. So when you fast strategically, you're not just burning fat, you're doing something far deeper. You're cleaning senescent immune cells. You're reactivating stem cells and lowering systemic inflammation. This isn't just about looking younger, it's about aging slower. So now let's bring it back to your life. If you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, and you're starting to feel like your body is turning against you, this is the biology behind that experience. Your thymus is shrinking, your immune cells are aging, and your system is inflamed. But here's the good news, you can intervene. Dr. Jason Fung says that the body knows how to heal if you give it the silence to do so. Fasting is that silence. In strategic, controlled fasting, especially when supported by nutrient-dense, plant-based refeeds, can help restore the immune balance. And you don't have to do it alone. In future episodes, I'll walk you through exactly how to approach fasting safely, how to know when to refeed, and how to build a protocol that works with your schedule, your body, and your goals. Because this isn't about fasting, it's about rhythm, about cycles and rest and renewal, about working with your biology instead of against it. Your chronological age is just a number, but your immune age is a system, a dynamic one, and with the right tools, you can influence it. You don't need injections and you don't need extreme interventions. You just need to understand the power of fasting, the regenerative nature of the stem cells, and the forgotten wisdom of your own thymus. Well, I hope this gave you a new perspective today, because it's one that I wish I had known years ago. In episode 2, we'll dive deeper into metabolic aging, how insulin resistance and mitochondrial dysfunction accelerates the aging process, and what you can do to turn it around. Make sure you hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss it. And if this perspective resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. What's the one symptom of aging that you wish you could undo? Let me know in the comments or send me a message. We are in this together. Until next time, stay curious, stay committed, and remember that your body still remembers how to heal. You just give it the chance.